And we are live. Uh, this is Last Minute History. I'm Cole Clayton, and with me I have my buddy Atlas Novak. Atlas, how are you doing today?
Yo, I'm pretty good. I managed to shove a pair of earrings up my butt, and I made it here just fine. So,
What?
because
There's a story
today
there.
on Last Minute History, we're going to be talking about British shoplifting gangs.
Just the British ones?
Yes, because they have specific things that have to do with the culture of the UK at the time, like Victorian England, and how kind of prudish everyone was toward women.
Okay, so what era does this start in then?
So these shoplifting gangs were around anywhere from, the earliest mention is in newspapers, dates to 1873, but police records from London indicate that female willy shoplifters, as they were called, had been active in the area since the late 18th century. So this was going on arguably since the US had become a country. That you had these women going into stores and stealing stuff.
So were these like gypsies then?
So gypsy refers to the Roma people, which is like people living
tomatoes?
No, they're like a specific
bright red in the sun,
like group of people living in diaspora, that sort of thing. These were just British women who wanted to steal stuff, and it could be any number of reasons. But I wanted to, at first, earrings and butts. I'll get to it. I should have said muff because that's slang for vagina, but a muff is an actual like garment where you put your hands in, like a little sleeve. You know what I'm talking about, Cole?
No.
Okay, so you know how on your you have a hoodie and it's got the two pockets down by your belly. You can put your hands in on either side.
Just pockets.
Yeah, but where it's like the one single pocket.
Oh, you mean like a hoodie?
Yeah, like on a hoodie. That's kind of what a muff is. But instead of on the hoodie, it's a separate thing that you carry around.
So like a fanny pack, but
yeah,
not
like
a
zipper. Sleeve almost. So that's
what
the
like quarterbacks have. The quarterbacks have them. Okay.
Yeah.
To keep their hands warm or whatever, or dry or something like that. Okay.
Yeah. Cole, you can't say that term.
Yeah. Okay, for the record, I come from gypsies. Like legitimately, I have gypsy blood, so
that's cool.
I can say whatever I want here on this. Romani people were nomads. I was just talking shit. I know what a gypsy is.
Okay, so shoplifting as a concept becomes mostly a thing when capitalism does, which is largely during the Enlightenment period of the late 18th century. So because of that, going from feudalism, where you have like your feudal lords and you have your serfs or peasants, and they farm the land for you, make you stuff, and that's how they get their subsistence living. Capitalism, the idea, and I'm really explaining this badly. Miss Salami, if you're listening to this show, I'm getting a C- on this report. One of the econ teacher at the school I work at. Anyway,
I'm so glad I don't go to school still.
So capitalism, the draw, the elevator pitch of capitalism is that if you create value through making and selling of goods and or services, you are able to get a living that way through money, through cash.
Right.
So because of that, you have people having to like make consumerism a thing, buying clothes for the sake of fashion, and not just because
to prop the economy, essentially, to make an economy, essentially.
Yeah. So things were being made not just for like, I need food to live, I need medicine to not die, I need water for this. I need a horse to farm my land.
Why does Kylie Jenner's lipstick keep coming up? I don't understand. This is the reference that's going over both of our heads.
Is this who was the one who did
something that happened this week? I don't know.
We're two white boys. We're not going to know anything about Kardashian anything.
Yeah, Mom, get back to me. My mom is a Kardashian enthusiast, so.
Okay. Dude, if my mom listened to any of the shows that I'm on, she would faint. Thank God she doesn't. Anyway, so with all that in mind, you have goods being worth something because you have a secondary market for them. You used to play trading card games, right?
If you look right there, that's a big old stack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards right there.
There you go.
You can't see it, but my mic's in the way. But
yeah,
right there.
Nice. So I still play trading card games.
Still play them. Yeah, we still.
Everybody knows the value of the secondary market. So all that in mind, that's where the idea of shoplifting comes in. The other reason that oh my God, not Yu-Gi-Oh! Zaru, you know what you signed up for when you talked to me. The other thing that fuels shoplifting as an action is that these people were poor usually. This was during the Gilded Age, mostly. So, and I'm sure you know what that is.
The Gilded Age?
Gilded Age.
Everybody goes to lunch?
What?
They'll be painted?
Kind of, yeah. So it refers to like it looked golden from the outside, but you scratch it and the paint comes off. So like, it looked like it was nice, but it was really kind of shit.
Every week you ask me the same. You ask me a question, I give you the same answer, the same Monsters Inc. reference, and it goes over your head every time.
I mean, like that's kind of
everybody goes to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
When the big arm goes up and the little arm goes up,
everybody goes to lunch. So the Gilded Age was a time where you had, because of capitalism, a lot of really rich people who were like throwing their money around, buying a lot of stuff. And then you had a lot of poor people without much of a social safety net. Now, this largely turned around the time of the 20th century. You have figures like Teddy Roosevelt in the US that tried to make life a little more equitable for everyone else involved. Not black people, unfortunately, but that's its own can of worms.
Well, yeah, as Western countries go.
Yeah. And Britain has the whole like empire business going on, so they're off on their own spiel that I'm not really going to get into too much. But the point is that everything has appeared to be going amazingly for Britain at this time. They're like, we got colonies, the sun never sets on the British Empire. And then you have like urchins in the street being like, please, we're dying of cholera, So those are the two things that really create the conditions where like shoplifting as an endemic problem starts to take place. So this gives rise to the 40 Thieves. So the 40 Elephants or the 40 Thieves, they were an all-female London crime syndicate. And they managed to keep going between roughly 1873, when that first newspaper mentions them, to around the 1950s. Imagine.
That's a long-ass time.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like this group of bad bitches. It was like almost like a mafia.
Yeah. There was a lot less like protection rackets and physical intimidation.
But they passed the torch on. They had to have.
Yeah. No, you would definitely have like multiple generations of women coming up in this gang, right? Where like Ethel from 1886, she still got the all-time record for the biggest score. I'm not doing a British accent because I'm terrible at it, but so the reason they were called the 40 Elephants was they operated in the Elephant and Castle area of London.
This went before, like almost to the beginning of the Industrial Age, well into like McCarthyism and the Korean War and whatnot. So like
Yeah, like
that
post
that's a
World War
long ass
II, this
time.
is still going on. Yeah. So they mostly rated like the high end stuff on the west end of London, although they eventually had gone almost anywhere in the country. So usually, how they would do it is they would dress up as like housemaids um, for wealthy families. Like, oh, I'm Margaret. I've been hired to clean your house, and then they just make off with the silver or whatever. If you've ever
A
seen
la
Gangs of New
Anne
York,
Hathaway in The Dark Knight Rises.
yes. Or have you ever seen Gangs of New York with?
Of course, of
Yeah,
fucking course.
you know the scene where like where Cameron Diaz dresses up as a maid and goes in the house, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what that is. It's
Gotcha.
that same idea.
But it was organized crime. It was like, okay,
Yeah, it was organized crime.
all right,
We're like,
you got the house down the street today. I got the house next door tomorrow. Like,
yeah, and for houses
sort
this
of.
big with that big of a staff, it was hard to like keep track of everybody, right? So you can just kind of slip in with people at the beginning of the day, take your shit, leave. Um,
Well, yeah, and
and
then you didn't have cameras and all the shit we got now. You know, like hell, you don't even have dusting for fingerprints yet. So,
yeah,
like,
their biggest like time that they were like the height of their power, I guess, was in the interwar period. So between World War One and World War Two, roughly that 20-ish year period. You got a lot
like
of
looting does go up in times of war.
no,
Um,
that's between the wars.
oh, really? I thought you
World
meant
War
like
One,
during the
World War
war.
Two, in the middle, the two
What?
between the two wars.
Oh, so like the Great Depression, because the Great Depression was more of
Yeah,
a global entity, right? It wasn't
hmm
just in America. That makes
yeah,
sense, I guess.
yeah. Because we made a lot of money during World War One because we supplied like war material to both sides.
Right.
So we made a butt ton of money. And then we were riding high off that in the roaring 20s. And then when the bubble burst with the stock market, that means our economic collapse affected everybody else worldwide. So that's why the Great Depression is worldwide and why we see it through an American lens was because we were doing that. And that's also why after World War II, that went even further, where we had pretty much all of the world's currency because we had either won it through the war or we're like arming Russia, the UK, that kind of stuff. So that's why most currency is pegged to the dollar now because we just have all the gold. Um, that's kind of coming apart now, but that was the
It
case for
is
like
well, right, because you have like Russia and China kind of doing they have their own like
yeah.
currency trade or going. I think Brazil's involved too. You got a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get off the planet. There's like meteorites that have gold on them. We need to be able to go do some shit like that.
Well,
But
then that makes gold worthless. I don't want to get
that's what
into
they
this.
say.
I'm not
That's
good at
what
economics.
they say, but I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah. So interwar period, they worked in major shopping centers across the country. They also forced smaller gangs to kind of pay tributes on what they had stolen. So, like you were saying, the mob, they were kind of like, a big gang. They were able to make other smaller gangs bend the knee, um, pay tribute. They would punish criminals who didn't like obey their rules.
Right. So as like
I'm sure.
mafias do. So there's probably some kind of like chain of command system then going on too.
Yeah.
I imagine.
So they had their own like set of rules, demanded loyalty from members. Alice Diamond was a leader. With the
Ironic name.
ironic name, yeah. With the cooperation of Maggie Hill, Gertrude Scully, and the Partridge Sisters are named people in all this.
I feel like I've heard of the Partridge Sisters. I feel like I've heard that before.
There's the Partridge Family from the 70s.
That
Like
might be what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So over 70 direct members of the gang operating in the 20s and 30s have been identified. This is one of those things where stuff you would read about largely happens through primary sources because you're not going to have historians being like, let's find out what the shoplifters are doing. No, this is stuff we are interested in a century and a half later. Because of course we are. We're terrible people. So there were reports that the gang collapsed when their leaders were jailed in 1925, but that was incorrect. They were still in existence after World War II as new family members, like you were saying, replaced older ones. So you have like multiple generations of women coming in to replace those that are either jailed or they die off or just get too old. Like, oh, the knees aren't feeling it anymore.
That's everything I look for in a wife, man. Like, honestly. I got
Is she a good shoplifter? I want to marry her.
Like, not even just like a shoplifter, but like one that's like in a gang and can keep her mouth shut. You know what I mean? Is doing shit on the sly, organized crime. Yeah, man. I would really dig that.
I do like a little bit of a rebellious spirit in my wife.
They're rebellious. This is like
I'm currently married to.
G'd up, bro.
Yeah. So they were often said to be able to meet equal numbers of men in battle, and were admired by their male counterparts in the Elephant Gang for their organization and expertise.
Not just me.
I believe this is coming out. Like, isn't it Women's History Month this month?
Is it?
I think so.
It might be. I know it's Mental Health Awareness Month, but I don't know. I can't keep it. No, March is women's. Right? I don't know.
Women's History Month.
I can't ever keep up. I know Black History is February and Pride is June. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know the month.
History Month. You're right. It's during March.
Is it?
You're right.
One of them M months.
One of the M months. Well, it's either March or May. So I bet you're wondering, these are gangs of women shoplifting in Victorian London. How do they do it?
That was my next question, actually. Very valid.
Before I get into this, I just want to ask, you are a dirtbag.
A little.
Have you shoplifted before?
Of course. Of fucking course.
How have you shoplifted before? Obviously, this is maybe. For people listening to this, this is hypothetically, if we were to shoplift.
I mean, you can't really get away with it nowadays, but and I don't shoplift anymore. It's just kind of, if I'm honest, it's beneath me. Like, I make too much money to do that now. And I don't mean it's beneath me as in like, you're a terrible person if you shoplift. If you need bread and you can't afford it, fucking do that. Fuck these goddamn corporations.
Yeah. Remember, kids, if you see somebody taking necessities from a major corporation, no, you didn't.
Yeah, if it's fucking bread or food of any kind, I say underwear. Underwear is a good one you can get away with. I won't say shit. I will never say shit, actually, but like, you shouldn't say shit. Yeah. Socks. Hell, just like a pack of white t-shirts. You know, it's not like name brand of any kind, just like Fruit of the Loom, whatever. But yeah, we're getting off topic.
Tampons.
Yeah. Tampons is a good one. Toilet paper, you know. Yeah. Anything that you could.
Necessities.
Anything that you really could say, I need this shit.
Yeah. So let me rephrase that question. If you were to shoplift, what methods would you use? Maybe.
So this is shitty, but I was broke and I went in to go get food and I had my kid who was 2, right? Mm-hmm. I only had enough money for the food that I was getting because I was really broke when I became a parent. Kid was about 2. My mom's telling me I should shut up, but this is past the statutes of limitations. So,
also, Amy, he's not saying he does this. He's saying if he did.
Yeah, if I did, my kid would have been 2, and I would have been very broke. And I could only afford what I was going in there to get. But I have probably the most spoiled son ever. Okay, y'all see him every other Saturday trying to help me cook it, where he throws cinnamon into my fucking enchiladas after I've asked him not to twice. He's that type of kid, you know what I mean? So like, he's like, I want a toy. Let's go to the toy aisle. And I'm like, all right, fine, we'll walk through the toy aisle. Well, he grabs this fucking Hulk thing, and I feel bad, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I gotta get it. So, long story short, we bought all the fucking shit, and I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna give it to him, and we're just gonna walk right out. Nobody's gonna take a toy from a kid, like. So I made him the accessory to the shopping.
Maybe He would.
Yeah, they wouldn't have punished him. They would have punished me. And honestly, if somebody says something, then I'd be like, I didn't even know he grabbed that. What the fuck, bro? Come on.
Yeah.
Total denial. You know what I mean? So,
see, you in this hypothetical scenario, used your toddler, the image that other people had of him to make off with that certain object. I'm sure everyone's aware of the banana trick, the put whatever it is on the like scale and type in bananas and then you charge for bananas.
Oh yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things where like they laid off a bunch of checkout people and then they're like self-checkout only, and then you use the self-checkout that way. And it's like, well, what did you expect us to do? You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I don't work here. If I'm gonna have to do work for you, then I'm getting a discount. You know? Like, now they're getting rid of self-checkout. They're going fucking back to regular fucking.
It's the same thing where like they'll try something that already has a purpose, or like they'll get rid of something that has a purpose, and then they're like, fine, you know?
Right, exactly. Well, they learned their lesson. Fuck these corporations, if I'm honest.
I mean,
another time I went to Home Depot, and I was trying to make a double bubbler bong, and out of liquor bottles. So we had all the tubes and stuff. Yeah. And we had the liquor. We had 2 whiskey bottles that we had. Me and my best friend, we had drank all the whiskey. Again, this is the dirtbaggery.
Yeah.
And we had rubber tubes, and we attached like a metal, like an aluminum funnel to the end of the tubes, and we realized, how the fuck are we gonna get the tubes to like go through to get the smoke, the weed smoke into the water. Yeah, so into the glass, like into the water. So we needed a diamond drill bit, which we had a drill. We just didn't have a diamond drill bit. So we went and stole a drill bit because it was like, I don't know, like $30 for it. I wasn't trying to spend that money. He just my best friend. He just shoved it in his pocket and we just left. And then we made a double bubbler bomb. Yeah, it was. Yeah, just right in your pocket. I don't even know why they have that like out. Like that's so dumb. I was going in there expecting it to be behind glass or something, you know.
I noticed that a lot of like shoplifting has to do with sleight of hand, where you're like, like here's the thing that you want to see, shove with the other thing. Like maybe at some point, who knows? I could have, while in college, maybe. Had to buy a new set of T-shirts because my roommate spilled paint on like a bunch of them while painting someone's bedroom, and I had to go buy more. So I put them on the self-checkout with one of the tags facing down, but because shirts don't weigh all that much, it didn't set off the weight sensor. So it just scans one of them, and then you just pay for what. And like, it doesn't look suspicious to the camera either, because you're like, your shirt.
That reminds me of one time, the mother of my child, my baby mama.
Maybe, who knows? Could have happened.
Yeah, hypothetically. No, fuck her. I'm ratting her out. She just like, we were at Walmart again. A lot of these stories happen at Walmart, and she just like threw a hoodie on and we just walked out like with it. She had a new hoodie. Like it's
you just like hide the tag or tear off the tag.
She just put it on. Nobody questioned it. Like she's like, I want this hoodie. Like so.
And no one's really like paying attention, or just like if you're afraid to question a woman, like, hey, did you come in with that hoodie? Like no one's getting paid enough to.
Right. Yeah. Like. Oh yeah, start grabbing a woman's clothes. Let's see how well that'll go for you.
Yeah. So like, the way this would work with the 40 Elephants is the original gang members would wear women's clothing, but they were modified. So they would have like hidden pockets in different places. Now I know for our women listeners out there, you're thinking, oh my God, they found a dress that has pockets. No, they put the pockets in the dress and not just like where you would normally have them.
Wait, so did they learn to tailor themselves, or did they pay off tailors to do this?
Probably a little column A, a little column B. Maybe you hire someone who's good at doing this for this or that. Or
Bro, this organization goes deep already. I can.
yeah. So they'd hide stuff in like coats, cummerbunds, which like you ever go to prom, like that weird thing across your torso?
Yeah. What is that thing, by the way? What is that? I never understood what the use was. That I was like, this shit. I just have like a fupa now. Like, what is this?
Yeah,
a fabric fupa.
Yeah, and just like a band of sweat where the cummerbund was.
Hot, bro. Why am I wearing this?
So those muffs, like I was mentioning before, little like those would especially work because you walk in like, oh, it's cold outside, and then shove things inside and then walk outside again. Skirts, bloomers, hats, right? You have pockets in all these that wouldn't normally be there that you could hide things in. So now you're probably thinking, well, okay, so they have pockets. What does that matter, right? It's still a little suspicious if you have like a thing in your skirt and you gotta like put it up or like lift up the top and like shove whatever the thing is in there, right?
Right.
This is where the attitude of how people treated women came into play. So because during Victorian London, so like the late 19th century, early 20th century, a lot of people were like prudish in how they saw women. This is around the time when when the train was invented. They were afraid to have women go on it because they thought their uteruses would come flying out when they got on the train. It was a very like just sexist time, especially. Like it was real bad.
I miss those days.
Do you?
No, I wasn't born.
Jesus.
But I would like to be on transportation in a separate area away from most women, if I'm honest. But that's just a me thing, personally. I don't get along with them, so they don't like me. It's just good for us.
Yeah, seems to be a pattern I've noticed. Anyway, so because of this, women were usually given privacy when shopping. So they would let a woman into a store and be like, "Oh, you want to shop? We'll turn our heads away." And there was this implicit trust that the woman would be good because she's a good girl. She's very pious. She goes to church. So they would just shove things in all the pockets on their clothes, which is funny to me. They took advantage of their society's view of them to then make away with thousands of pounds of stuff. Yeah, so they made enough money to financially support their male spouses. Like these women were the breadwinners by stealing stuff.
Bro, that's gotta be like emasculating in a way. You're like, no matter how much I work, this bitch that somehow has more money than me. Well, she don't even work. She just comes out and comes back with more stuff. What the fuck?
You got to remember that like these are women who largely like they probably don't get along very well with normal dudes. So a lot of their spouses were like guys who just like to hang out at home, and then inmates. Inmates.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're just the earliest form of the modern woman. I got it. So like,
kind of, yeah. So like all shoplifting scams do, they eventually became well known, right? If you see a lady with way too much clothing in August, what?
Somebody can't keep their mouth shut eventually. Yeah.
Somebody can't keep their mouth shut. Or, hey, that girl was just in here and now a third of my rubies went missing. What the fuck happened?
It's all my shit.
Yeah. So it got to a point.
How did you get out of here? She's 5 foot tall. What the hell?
Yeah. So it got to a point where even just like, these are people, you can recognize faces after a while. Word gets around.
Right.
It got to a point where people would see them and be like, oh shit, lock everything up. They're coming. Like everyone would panic. So it kind of kills the secrecy angle that they have. So this caused them to leave London and move to other like smaller British towns, like rural, out of the way places, seaside towns. You would go there and steal shit. So now comes the 20th century, and they modernize with the changing times. They invested in fast cars to transport their loot. So this is also what happened in Prohibition in the U.S., where bootleggers would like trick out their cars so they could outrun the cops.
Right.
And this is actually where NASCAR comes from, because
Yeah, I knew that.
Prohibition ended, and they're like, "Well, we got all these fast cars. Let's race them." You know.
They also made them so that they could run on like moonshine for a short bit of time too.
Yeah.
Which probably was, if you were making moonshine, you know, that's valuable.
Yeah, seems like a obvious answer, right?
Right.
Another way they would like transport their stuff was through the British railway system. So London had a subway, and the way that a lot of subway stations work in larger cities like this, especially before everything becomes so car dependent, is they would have things like PO boxes, or if you're traveling somewhere, you can like, oh, I'm going to leave my suitcase here for the day. They give you a key. You can go like futz about the city and then come back, use the key to get your shit and leave. So they would go to a town, leave a suitcase as if they're like, oh, we're just travelers traveling to this town. And then go get their stolen stuff, come back, get the suitcase, and then jump on the train and go back to London.
Bro, talk about a getaway.
I know, right? Where you're just
on the other side of town.
Your mom's
before anybody
notes.
knows. Yeah, like nowadays it's not as cool, but like back when transportation is this new thing, and you're like, where the fuck she go? And she's just gone, like gone, like she's like, you're in Ireland and she's in Wales. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
yeah.
My mom was taking notes.
I also talked before about getting hired as maids in like big mansions and stuff. So they would get fake reference letters written up and have like just a pile of them. So you just take one, go to a mansion, be like, "Hello, I would like to be hired, please." And they're like, "All right, maid number 147, get in the line." So you do that for as long as you can without.
This is why you can't like walk in and like fill out a paper application anymore. Everything's digital because of all the thieves and all the criminals over the last 200 years, man. You can't do anything. Everything's this whole. You gotta have like, oh, you got a phone? You want to? Can you just send me an email? Fuck you in your email.
One of my neighbors at this apartment complex works for Monster.com as like a resume, like coach or whatever she calls it, and I'm like, why is this even a thing? Like,
right? Yeah, I should be able to just go in there, look them in the eye, and then
what happened to the firm handshake? I could buy a house for $6 and some.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So they would do that. Another thing they would do is, these are women. This is a time where in England, talking about sex was incredibly taboo, even though everyone was horny as fuck. Like, go back and look at anything Victorian. It's just dripping with horniness.
Well, they all had like fucking 4 to 8 kids too.
Yeah.
Back then.
Because a third of them would die of dysentery.
You still had to have them, right? Like,
yeah. So they would seduce men.
Fucking.
So they would seduce men, right?
Right.
You get them into an affair,
and then be like, this. Hustlers. I seen this. Yeah, where they were getting them drunk and then robbing their fucking credit cards. Okay, it's the same idea. This is just an old Victorian version of that. That's a movie I want to see. Let's get Cardi B speaking Old English.
So this was like the OG of that. They would seduce them and then be like, "Hey, I'm part of this gang that everyone hates. If I told everyone that like you gave me the clap, it'd be pretty bad for you unless you give me some money. Then I'll go away." And and thus they did.
So
So
it's exactly what Cardi B was doing. Gotcha. Almost, damn near.
Cardi B is a time lord. That's the lesson I learned
Or she's
there.
just related to the old gang, somebody in the gang.
Maybe.
Just like her grandma. Could you imagine one of these I don't know, these women just go like you if you go back in the log, you open up the book and she said, "I'll do it again." Oh, cutter.
Yeah. I don't know how to do that. Oh, or whatever
Oh,
it is.
cutter. It says it right there. It says, "Oh, cutter."
Every time we do that, our skin gets like one shade whiter. Like every time we try and fail.
I try. I can't do it that good, but
so by the 1920s, they had started getting used to the amount of power they had, and especially now, this is the 20s, the Roaring 20s, was also kind of a thing in Britain. Not and much like Chicago, the play, the musical, you have these like criminals leading like decadent, extravagant lifestyles, right? Like the Great Gatsby shit.
right.
Because for some reason it was cool to be a gangster back then.
Fucking Al Capone ruined it for everybody.
I guess so.
It's trying to be cool, and then that's where like Rico comes in and fucking white banks have blue paint and everything. Fucking Al Capone.
The
There's a tax on alcohol.
Yeah. So they would kind of like do it like a movie star or a flapper girl would. So part of their earnings were used to finance like party events and to like high roll at clubs and pubs and restaurants. So they were like flying high in the 20s.
My mom's living in 1990 perpetually. She still thinks Ray Liotta is alive. Don't let her know yet. Don't tell her.
Funny. I'm showing my movie class Goodfellas this week as we speak.
It's a great movie, but you know, it's a 35-year-old movie, so let's go on with the times.
I know. As far back as I can remember.
Right.
I wanted to be a gangster, yeah.
As far back as I can remember, my mother showed me that movie.
As far back as I can remember. I was blackmailing men for their money.
Yep.
Where are all the mobsters in Cleveland? I don't know.
I know a lot of them, actually. They're all old. They're all like really old. And they're all broke too.
Yeah. By this point, they were pretty territorial of their turf, right? You know, all gangs have a turf. So other shoplifters who stole from like their areas of control had to pay a percentage of their takings. So it's like, oh, you stole those earrings from that shop. We want like a third of whatever you get for it.
Bro, that's exactly how like every organized crime syndicate gets taken down, is the turf like fee, because then like the feds get like somehow interrupt that. They intercept it, I should say. Y'all gotta quit with this fucking turf shit. That's dumb old school caveman shit. Stop it.
So what we're saying is start a gangster union. And no,
exactly.
So, you know, lots of people got arrested and convicted, but the prison sentences tended to be short because, say it with me, they were women.
They were women. That's why they got away with it?
Well, yeah, because they were like, oh, this poor young thing who is being arrested because their life took a wrong turn. Let's give them only, 30 days or whatever, right?
You know, if I say that, then it becomes like it becomes not real. Okay, I can't say stuff like that because I say stuff like that every day. Okay, so I'm glad you said it, not me.
So once they released, they would just go back to the gang. There was no
like they just
no reason
slap on the wrist, if anything at all, because of the times. Gotcha.
So typically the sentencing was either 12 months of hard labor or 3 years of incarceration. So they would take their pick, and then that's it. That's not that long.
Not long, no.
So a lot of the women just were in the gang for a long time. So
70 years is a lifetime. Like in not only that, but as you age, it probably gets harder to quickly get away with stuff. You know what I mean? So like, there's
probably,
at least 2 generations of women there,
yeah.
maybe
So like
three.
an example is a woman named Ada Wellman. So she was initially arrested in 1921, and she was arrested again in 1939, still in the gang. So that's like
18
a
years
full
later.
generation later, she's still there.
Right.
So while the gang members usually wore or stole clothing items, they typically didn't wear the stolen clothes.
You would
So they,
sell stuff like that, I imagine. You don't want to get caught wearing it.
yeah, so they would
It's like
usually,
stealing a car. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, so they'd
you don't
usually
want to
give it
be
to like
driving around in a
fences
stolen
or
car.
pawnbrokers.
Right.
Pawn shops were a big part of London's crime culture, and also like how the like policing came to be. There's a extra history, again another extra history reference, um, series about this called Policing London that I recommend you check out if you want more details on like the pawn shops in particular and how they worked.
Do you know what policing London? What do you know what streaming site it's on?
Extra history, it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, so uh, so they would, sometimes even sell the clothing items back to different clothing stores.
Damn.
Because they
That's
would
like
just they would like modify the design a little bit. This is why I'm thinking that they had like a tailor in the gang that
they
would
had to have been,
they
dude.
had
That's
to,
what I was
yeah.
thinking earlier.
So they would like change the label or modify the design a little bit and be like, look at this thing, and then sell it off to a different store. Some of the fences associated with the gang were also arrested, but they couldn't be convicted because you never rat on your friends, Jimmy. Never rat on your friends.
Which is why the RICO Act is bullshit. So.
So a different woman named Ada McDonald was arrested as a suspected fence in 1910. She used ledgers of suspected authenticity to convince the authorities that the goods in her possession were the product of legitimate financial transactions. This is coming from Given in Evidence, which is stuff about London's crime culture from 1960. Sorry. Used ledgers. Okay, sorry. Jane Durrell, another suspected fence, and her common law husband, Jim Bullock, were both placed on trial in 1911. The jury decided that the police evidence against them was insufficient, and they were acquitted of charges and released because, say it with me,
they were women.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that in a sexist way, like, oh, women get away with everything. I mean, like, the sexism of the era.
Times, like, I still am of the opinion, and there is factual evidence backing it up, but although I don't research very deep, but there is a debate that women still get away with crimes compared to what men get away, as far as like sentencing and stuff like that. But that definitely back then, up until probably, I don't know, 70 years ago, people thought women couldn't conceive of doing a crime, so.
Yeah. So that's pretty much that. In terms of the overall reason, like, we know the reason why these gangs came to be: necessity, the sexism of the time that allowed them to take advantage of others' views of them.
Well, when somebody looks at you like you're weak, like that's your best time to strike. You know what I mean? Like, when people underestimate you, that's when you can get away with anything. So.
Yeah, and honestly, I think in the future, if we're going to do another topic like this, we should have a woman guest, because
I'm down. I got no problem with that.
She like to put some feminine perspective on what was going on with these Victorian shoplifting gangs, or whatever other topic in the future. If you liked this episode, leave a like or a comment below. What is
Give us a
your
subscribe, guys?
what's the best shoplifting technique that you've seen hypothetically?
Hypothetically, how would you have done it if
How
you
would
had
you have done it? Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. This was a fun one. But yeah, leave a like, leave a comment. For people listening to this on Generation Dan's RSS feed, you're already subscribed, so thanks for that. But you can check out me at Atlas Novak. Y'all just wild things, Amy. You can check me out at Atlas Novak. The Epileptic Comic is my YouTube channel, or my other podcast, Nexus at Night, which is about a trading card game.
I forgot to add the banners. I'll do that after the episode. Oh, and like last thing, real quick, I forgot one that doesn't actually even implicate me. I was working as a cashier at a grocery store down in Texas, and this couple came in, and like every once in a while, the dude would come in and just like break beer, like he would just drop beer, and then like every time, to the point where we had to start following the dude, and like every time he would come in, he would essentially he was all he wanted to do was gather everyone's attention, so it worked even after he stopped breaking the beer and we had to follow him around. The girlfriend was stealing. Like it was this crazy thing. Yeah, he would come and break beer and be like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry," to the point where it happened like 4 or 5 times. So we had to like watch him so he didn't break no beer, and still she was stealing, like, because we're watching him. You know what I mean? Like,
and the legacy lives on.
Right.
You were underestimating
like 6 months for anybody to catch on. You know?
Yeah. So. Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
Comments. What else do you want to see, or what do you want us to cover here on Last Minute History? We'll take topic suggestions.
Yeah, what do we're doing in 2 weeks? We're doing something else. I don't know.
I forgot what it was, because we had like samurai weapons, then this, and then I forgot what the third thing was.
I think it was the evolution of the household technology. Maybe something else. We'll come back to it. Check me out tomorrow. I'm doing ham and cheese. We're gonna make like a fancy baked potato. I think it's gonna be chicken pot baked potato.
Wouldn't it just be chicken pot potato?
Yeah, pot potato. I've tried all week to come up with something that sounds good.
You just do pot hyphen tater.
Right, pot tater.
Yeah.
And Wednesday, me and Kyle are having a guest, Melissa Logston, Cleveland's own. And then Saturday, of course, I have my sister. We're going to do The Greatest Goddamn Show on Air. And my son later that evening, I think we're going to make pancakes for the every other weekend meals. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Until next time.